Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to
Bonnet
Babble.
Babble.
Episode 2.
Whoop.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out
course.
all of the other social media, which you can find at www.beinmybonnet.co.uk.
There's lots and lots to pull.
There's lots of socials. Yeah. So, on with it then. Today we're going to try and be a bit more cohesive. Maybe.
I was going to say productive, but okay.
Well, but cohesive.
Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah. We're going to go through the PIP reforms, the Health and Disability Green Paper. And we're doing that. I know. But we're doing that because it's on the blog, but it's like a 20-minute read. So I expect a lot of people have seen it and gone, nah, I don't want to read that. But I think it's important because, well, the changes they're talking about making are just stupid.
And not a lot of people actually realise about it because...
No. So for those who
not
aren't
necessarily really look into it.
No, exactly. So for those who aren't aware, PIP is personal independence payment. And it's supposed to be for people who struggle to do daily tasks and adult and all that fun stuff. So it covers a range of issues from physical disabilities, developmental disabilities, and mental disabilities and mental health issues, especially if someone has crippling anxieties and people who have a lot of comorbid conditions that can no longer lead a normal life.
But it's also for the above 16-year-olds.
Yeah, above 16 only, isn't it? So I'm going to start by reading out a bit. So as you may know if you've read the blog, I have sent an open letter to some MPs because I got a bee in my bonnet. I got the rage about...
Never.
Oh, well, yeah, but it was all like they're really tarring us all with the same brush in the newspapers, saying that we have this sick note culture and there's a worklessness crisis. Worklessness. And, there's all these people taking the mickey on benefits. And it just makes me angry when the mental health care that we receive under the NHS is so
abysmal.
Well, it's just utterly inadequate, isn't it? It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I sent a big rant along with my common sense suggestions for how they could fix some things. And then in my Google rabbit hole, I stumbled across this green paper. And I've heard the term before, but I didn't really know what a green paper was.
No, I had to ask you what it was as well.
So essentially, it's kind of like the government are doing a study on potential changes they could make to the PIP benefit. And they've written this paper with a bunch of questions and they want everybody's opinions on it. But it's hidden on the Gov.uk website. So because I'm really opinionated and this sort of reform would directly impact me as a current claimer, if it came into force, it would have a huge impact on my quality of life. So, I thought I'll do my civic duty. I didn't expect it to take like 7 hours though. So it's worth noting here.
It just shows you've got a lot to say.
I do have a lot to say, but also there's a section on the green paper called like consultation questions. So I was like, great, I won't read the whole thing. I'll just look at the consultation questions and I'll do my little rants on those questions. But apparently that section only had question 28 and above in it. So after I've written all my stuff for the blog, I then went to fill in the actual form. It sends you to like a new tab. And I found out that I'd missed out the first 27 questions.
Because they don't make it easy.
No, it's not my fault. It's the green paper's fault. It makes no sense. It's nothing to do with my ADHD brain going, don't want to read all that. We'll just go to this
Do you know what that reminds me of?
What?
It's your fault for parking there.
What? Yeah. Just don't take accountability. It's fine. So, here we go. Question 1 that they wanted Mr. and Mrs. Joe Blogg's opinion on was, what are your views of an assessment that places more emphasis on condition rather than the functional impact of a condition on the person? Now, I think it should be that way anyway, to a degree, without probably excluding mental health, because that can affect everybody to differing severities. But when it comes to like a physical disability, if you're missing a leg, it's kind of going to affect everybody the same way, you know?
Yeah.
To a degree.
Yeah,
but
for the most part.
Yeah, it goes on later on where it's talking about, you know, like having physician discretion and all that sort of stuff. I think these sort of decisions should be from the treating physician and not some random assessor who you've never met for a day in your life, who knows nothing about you and your personal circumstances and tries to get to the bottom of that based on an essay that you may or may not be good at filling in.
Who might also be incredibly bored with reading these.
Yes, quite. And, you know, I've had a couple of miserable assessors as well, and it's really difficult to you know, build a connection with them and feel comfortable enough to remember all the details when you're on the phone.
Yeah, because you're explaining your biggest difficulties.
Yes, exactly.
That you suffer with. So you're describing your worst possible day.
Yeah. Like, you know, I had to go through that period of time when, you know, and that I still get now, where, you know, I like to be competing for the world's greatest unwashed. That's not a nice topic for me to have to discuss with a stranger. She says,
not nice to have to
talking
admit.
about it on the internet.
Wow, this is different.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, I don't believe that. I think that would be ideal if it's done by the treating physician. But the key there, if they're going to do it based on a condition, they need to make sure that there's actual timely access to a diagnosis, which, let's face it, we don't have at the moment under the NHS. For example, where I live at the moment, the ADHD waiting list for adults is 5 years.
It's 3 for children.
Yeah, I know.
So it's not much better.
No, it's an absolute joke. It's not fit for purpose. It's just ludicrous. So, that's question 1. We need to move along relatively speedily, otherwise we'll be here all day.
We will.
What are your views on people receiving PIP without an assessment if they have specific health conditions or a disability as evidenced by a healthcare professional? Again, yes, I agree with that. I think the whole assessment process at the moment is a farce. You know, you're sent this massive document with questions wanting to know the ins and outs of every area of your life. It requires you to do some research before you even fill it in, because, you know, it's widely known that 80% of initial PIP applications are declined. So you need to put the right buzzwords in. And not everybody has the mental spoons to do research and put in buzzwords.
Well, I didn't know about buzzwords, and
that's why yours got declined.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also didn't know about buzzwords, and that's why I had to go through to the whole mandatory reconsideration farce. So yeah, it's just broken. So, you know, I said that the culture of self-diagnosis needs to end. You know, we have this culture at the moment of everybody saying, oh, I've got this and I've got that, but they don't actually have a bit of paper from a psychiatrist or a medical professional to say, yes, you do. Whereas we have bits of paper. We are clinically insane.
The magic pieces of paper.
Yes, and the magic pills to go with them.
I don't have those.
No, but I do. How? You wouldn't know I'm the one that's medicated. Evie isn't, would you?
No.
Right, so, but as I said, you know, the NHS must be tackled first with timely access for all diagnoses as a priority. Perhaps, you know, access to treatment could be a little bit slower, but there should be, you know, interim support in the meantime. So, for example, I was chucked on, you know, a 7-month waiting list for ADHD medication. No support at all whilst I was waiting.
It's like, here, your ADHD, have fun.
Yeah, enjoy that. Yeah. You found your entire life up until the age of 36 to be more difficult than it needs to be because we missed something and we just threw Smarties at you instead of worrying about what was going on underneath.
Yeah.
Great. And then I tried to get myself help, and I went to one of these charities that allegedly plugs all the gaps that the NHS miss. And I said, I want weekly catch-ups with somebody who's going to hold me to account for my to-do list and make sure that I'm not suddenly saying, oh, let's redecorate the whole house, and not having the energy to do that, biting off more than I can chew, and inevitably failing, which then leads to a big pit of despair. And instead of doing that, they gave me some leaflets.
We all know how we like to read.
Well, I do, but that's not the point.
No, I mean read interesting stuff.
It's not interesting. Leaflets are
really not interesting.
No, they're not. And then they also sent me, considering that I'm, a hermit and I don't like to leave the house, they also sent me some groups, in-person groups that I could go to when I don't have a car. Excellent. Well done.
Perfect.
Gold star for that. Anyway, question 3. What are your views on PIP claimants not being subject to an award review if they have a specific health condition or disability as evidenced by a healthcare professional? Well, it's a bit more tricky for mental health conditions because some of them can be recovered from with, the right support or become easier to live with.
Yeah, I mean that's the key one. It's not recovered from, or managed.
Yes, they can become managed, which means you could go on to live a more normal life. But there's other elements of this as well, which I know I go on to later, where sometimes those improvements are physical things that you are implementing with this additional money. And if that is then taken away because you're better and you can no longer afford to make those changes, then it has a knock-on effect and they end up not working again or not functioning again. But again, if somebody's missing a limb, then, that's not going to grow back, is it? It's not.
It's just matter of fact.
Well,
it's not going to grow back.
Well, there just needs to be a common sense approach to this, and I don't feel like most of these government departments or policies have been written by anybody with half a brain. It's all worrying about liability and how can we cover our arse. Do you know what?
Well, that's what the world is.
It's stupidity, isn't
unfortunately.
it? So, we're only on question 4. Jesus, right? Stop going off on
Let's
tangents.
go.
Yeah.
At least this one's nice and easy.
Yes. Do you agree or disagree on making provision of evidence or a formal diagnosis by a medical expert a mandatory requirement for eligibility? Yes.
We agree.
We agree, yeah. Question 5. In relation to question 4, please explain your answer and provide evidence of your opinion. Okay. It should be the case anyway, and I thought it was when I applied. I had all my diagnosis letters from the private psychiatrist I'd had to engage with and my psychotherapist, or whatever they were called, and they weren't asked for. They weren't needed to apply, which just puzzled me greatly. Like, why don't you want to know that a medical professional says, yes, you're broken?
I honestly don't know.
I don't get it.
Maybe some people don't have this.
They don't, do they? Because the NHS is so rubbish. Yeah. So they don't have the bit of paper. So it's all to do with how their suspected condition impacts them every day rather than having a diagnosis. And this whole thing is aimed around, what if we change it so you have a diagnosis? Well, okay, but you need to fix the NHS first then.
Yeah.
Because it's buggered. And so again, I've reiterated, trying to access mental health services, it's taken me several years of trying before I gave up and went paid privately. The private psychiatrist I saw cost the best part of 500 quid. And the therapist that I was seeing was £90 a session. It's, not many people are in a position to afford that.
No.
So I'm not anymore. So what does everybody do? Oh, great.
Stay insane.
Go to IAPT and get 8 sessions. Yeah, because you're really going to unpack a lot in that, aren't you?
Well, you are, but then you're going to be left as this broken, unpacked.
But that's why they wouldn't treat me, because they said you're too broken to help in 8 sessions.
I've had family members have had the same response.
Yeah. Well, what else are you going to do then? Nothing. Good. Thanks. Yeah.
Yes, because you're not bad enough.
Yeah. You're not trying to off yourself.
Yeah.
So the whole system's just designed to, we won't help you unless you hurt yourself or other people.
In which case we'll just lock you up and take away
take
your entire
your kids and turn your life up on its head. And brilliant. Good. Anyway, question 6. How could we prevent the provision of evidence or a formal diagnosis by a medical expert from impacting the NHS? What a stupid question. You can't. Obviously, the NHS must be reformed. In its current state, it's disaggregated into oblivion. And, you know, the standards of care that we all get, it differs vastly depending on where you live. We've got this, like, stupid postcode lottery. You know, PIP and benefits, they are national benefits, national level. It's all standardised. The NHS is supposed to be national, but it isn't. Now, if you want to dig into my open letter to MPs on mental health reform, I have put my 2 pence in as to what I think we should do. Not that I know anything about economics or the NHS, really, in general. But from the outside looking in, it just makes sense. It's a common sense approach. It's logic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have logic, but I have some days. So yeah, you know, if we keep just, you know, picking at one part of the problem at a time, it's never going to get better. You need to take it, and as much as a terrifying job that would be, just do it properly the first time, or just don't bother. You know, it's your choice. Question 8. How could we determine eligibility for the following conditions? Conditions that fluctuate or vary, or that might be cured or have access to better, new, novel treatments over time. I've said I've already really explained that for, you know, conditions that vary. It could be a temporary benefit until it's signed off by a medical professional, maybe, you know, 6 monthly reviews or something. But for most people, a disability is a permanent condition. Whether it fluctuates, it's always there. Everybody still has bad periods. You know, there are days that I'm able to function and be a human being and not stay in bed all day and, you know, cook and I feel really accomplished on those days. It's great. But then there are other days.
It's a massive pick you up when you have accomplished them, but then
it is.
You're exhausted.
Yeah, and then equally, my current routine is, you know, I try my very best Monday to Friday, and then the weekends I spend Saturday and Sunday in bed and don't move unless I have to pee. Like that's no quality of life. You know, when I have my time off from the kids and stuff, I don't go and do anything and enjoy myself. I'm just trying to mentally recover from having kids
and being an adult.
Yeah, being an adult and being mental. So again, I've gone over in this question about having, you know, reliable access to financial help allows people to put changes into place that will lead to an improvement. For example, I have a cleaner that comes in. Well, I'm supposed to have a cleaner. That's a whole fiasco that we just won't go into now because. Oh, you wouldn't think it was that difficult, would you? Just have somebody come in for 2 hours a week to clean your house.
We didn't think it was going to be difficult.
No, nor should it be. Why is everything so hard? For God's sake. So my point is, if they took away my financial benefit, that £150 a month that I spend on a cleaner to help keep my environment clean and tidy, which has a direct impact on my sanity, that would have a big effect on me. I could well end up sliding backwards into, you know, having washing going mouldy in the washing machine and a sink that was sprouting aliens because mouldy plates had been left in there. I've been there before. I just don't want to go back there again.
Nobody does.
Oh. So conditions that have better treatments over time, there really needs to be a firm link with the NHS. When, you know, treatments need to be rolled out consistently to the whole country at once and not have a postcode lottery.
You really have it in for a postcode.
I don't like it. I don't understand. It's a national health service. I've got to be in my bonnet about it. It's national. Why isn't it national? I don't understand. Sorry.
Well, no, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
I can't argue it. It's just, I find it funny that you've just...
I get so riled up about it. Yeah. So, I've just pointed out some common sense stuff here. Like, you know, nearly all medical advancements, it's not going to be 100% effective. So, you know, great, someone's been given a new magic pill, but what if it doesn't work? What are we going to do then? So there needs to be some element of discretion here. It can't just be a blanket, you've been given this medication, you can't have your money anymore.